The first time Zyloth asked me about human reproduction, I choked on my coffee. It wasn't the question itself that caught me off guard. It was the way he asked it. With complete sincerity. His large, almond-shaped eyes blinking slowly. His iridescent skin shimmering under the fluorescent kitchen light. He tilted his head, his antennae twitching with curiosity, and repeated the question. Explain to me in detail how humans reproduce. I wished to experience it. I wiped coffee off my chin and stared at him. Zyloth, you're an alien. You don't even have the same, anatomy as humans. How would that even work? He blinked again, his expression unreadable. I am aware of the biological differences. However, I am capable of adapting my form to mimic human physiology. It is a simple matter of molecular restructuring. I groaned, rubbing my temples. Course he could. Zyloth was from a highly advanced species capable of shape-shifting, telepathy, and who knows what else. He'd been living with me for 6 months as part of an intergalactic cultural exchange program, and while he'd mostly been a model roommate, quiet, tidy, and endlessly fascinated by Earth's quirks, he had a habit of asking the most awkward questions at the worst times. Look, I said, trying to steer the conversation somewhere less uncomfortable. Reproduction is kind of a big deal for humans. It's not something you just experience for fun. It's personal, emotional, complicated. Zyloth's antennae drooped slightly, a sign I'd come to recognize as disappointment. I understand. But is it not also a fundamental aspect of human existence? To truly understand your species, I must experience all facets of your life, including reproduction. Decide. There was no winning with him when he got like this. Zyloth was like a child with a PhD. Brilliant, but utterly lacking in social graces. Fine, I said, throwing up my hands. But if you're serious about this, you're going to have to do it the human way. No shortcuts, no shape-shifting. You'll have to find a willing partner, build a connection, and... well, you know. Zyloth's antennae perked up. A willing partner. Such as yourself. I nearly dropped my coffee mug. No, not me. I'm your roommate, Zyloth. That would be weird. Ah, he said, nodding sagely. I see. You are not attracted to me. That's not, I mean you're not even human. I sputtered. It's not about attraction. It's about boundaries. Zyloth considered this for a moment. Very well. I will seek a partner elsewhere. But I will require your assistance in navigating human courtship rituals. I groaned again. This was going to be a disaster. Over the next few weeks, Zyloth threw himself into his mission with the same single-minded determination he applied to everything else. He started by binge-watching romantic comedies, which he analyzed with the intensity of a scientist dissecting a new species. He took meticulous notes on everything from flirting techniques to the significance of grand gestures. According to my research, he announced one evening, humans place great value on displays of affection involving flowers, chocolates, and serenades. Is this accurate? Sometimes, I said, scrolling through my phone. But it really depends on the person. Some people think that stuff is cheesy. Zyloth frowned. Cheesy. As in, resembling dairy products. No, as in, overly sentimental. Cliché. I see. He scribbled something in his notebook. Then I shall avoid clichés and focus on authentic expressions of interest. I didn't have the heart to tell him that his very existence was about as far from authentic as you could get. Zyloth's first attempt at courtship was, predictably, a train wreck. He decided to approach a woman at the local coffee shop, armed with a bouquet of flowers and a carefully rehearsed compliment. Unfortunately, He chose a woman who was clearly in the middle of a work meeting, and his attempt to serenade her with a rendition of Can't Help Falling in Love, which he'd learned via YouTube tutorials, only made things worse. She called the manager, he reported later, looking dejected. I do not understand. My research indicated that humans enjoy music. They do, I said, trying not to laugh. But context matters. You can't just burst into song in the middle of a coffee shop. Zyloth's antennae drooped again. This is more complicated than I anticipated. Yeah, no kidding. Despite his initial failures, Zyloth refused to give up. He enrolled in an online dating app, creating a profile that was equal parts hilarious and horrifying. His bio read, "Advanced extraterrestrial seeking human partner for cultural exchange and reproductive experimentation. Must enjoy long walks, stargazing and philosophical discussions." Surprisingly, he got a few matches. Most of them were clearly just curious or messing with him, but one woman, a biologist named Clara, seemed genuinely interested. They exchanged messages for a few days, and Zyloth was thrilled when she agreed to meet him for dinner. "This is it," he said, pacing the living room before the date. "My first opportunity to experience human courtship in person. What if I make a mistake?" "Just be yourself," I said, though I wasn't sure if that was good advice. "And maybe don't bring up the whole reproduction thing right away." Zyloth nodded solemnly. "Understood. I will focus on establishing an emotional connection first." The date did not go well. Zyloth, in his enthusiasm, spent the entire evening peppering Clara with questions about human biology, culminating in a detailed inquiry about her reproductive system. She left halfway through dessert, leaving Zyloth confused and disappointed. "I do not understand," he said when he got home. "I thought she would appreciate my scientific curiosity." "Yeah, that's not exactly first date material," I said, trying not to laugh. "You've got to ease into that kind of stuff." Zyloth sighed. "Perhaps I am not suited for human courtship." "Don't give up," I said, patting him on the shoulder. "You'll figure it out." A few weeks later, Zyloth met someone else, a grad student named Marcus who was studying xenobiology. Marcus was fascinated by Zyloth's species and didn't seem fazed by his awkwardness. They hit it off immediately, bonding over their shared love of science and obscure trivia. One evening, Zyloth came home with a spring in his step, or whatever the alien equivalent was. "Marcus has agreed to assist me in my reproductive experiment," he announced. I nearly dropped my book. "Wait, what? You mean you two are?" "Yes," Zyloth said, his antennae twitching with excitement. "We have established a strong emotional connection, and he is willing to participate in the physical aspect as well. He finds the idea scientifically intriguing." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Well, good for you, I guess. Just be careful, okay?" "Of course," Zyloth said. "I have studied human anatomy extensively. I am confident I can adapt my form to ensure a mutually pleasurable experience." I decided not to ask for details. The experiment, as Zyloth called it, was a success, at least from his perspective. He and Marcus grew closer, and Zyloth seemed genuinely happy. He even started referring to Marcus as his mate, which was equal parts adorable and unsettling. As for me, I couldn't help but feel a little proud of him. He'd set out to understand humanity, and in the process, he'd found something real. It wasn't perfect, and it wasn't normal, but then again, neither was Zyloth.